Welcome back to a movie review. I haven't done one of these in quite some time because, frankly, I haven't seen a new movie at all this year besides Bill and Ted. So, Tenet is Christopher Nolan's new movie starring John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, and Elizabeth Debicki. Now, usually this is the point where I start off by telling you the plot of the film, but it's complicated. And honestly, if I were you, I would go into this movie not knowing anything and really pay attention. This is pretty much Christopher Nolan's attempt at a spy thriller, and it gets complicated and complicated. The first hour and a half or so really just is a world building part of the movie. It sets up the lore, the what is the inverse that they call, which is what you see in the trailer where everything's moving backwards. And really the plot of the movie doesn't start really getting to go until about an hour and a half into the movie. From a technical aspect, this film is a masterpiece, a 10 out of 10. Between parts of the movie where buildings are exploding and rebuilding at the same exact time, there's a hallway fight scene, which I really want to see how they did that because there's a guy moving backwards fighting a guy going forwards, and the way they do it is insane. Watching the movie and the action parts and the technical aspects of this film are the highlights of the film. They are really what you want to go in for. However, it's dragged down by everything else for me. This is by no means Christopher Nolan's best film. I wouldn't even put it in his top 4 or 5. The movie is really brought down by the overcomplicated plot. The actors do a pretty good job with what they are given. However, a lot of the dialogue is very sharp and quick, and if you're really not paying attention, you're going to get lost and fall behind. Character-wise, the actors do a good job, like I said, with what they are given. Elizabeth Debicki has a subplot that I won't get into, but she really has the most character development or character arc in the whole film. John David Washington doesn't even have a name. He's literally just called the protagonist. And really his motivation in this movie, besides the plot, is Elizabeth Debicki's character and what she's going through. But this movie's very plot heavy, and it's the plot pushing the characters forward, so you don't really have a lot of character development. Even Robert Pattinson, who was my favorite part of the movie, doesn't really have anything to him. There's a little bit of history and a little bit of backstory given by the end of the film about these characters, but other than that, it's really not about them. And for me, that's kind of a letdown because I think Christopher Nolan does an excellent job with character development and character creation. And in this movie, he kind of just doesn't focus on that. It's more of they are just the vehicles for the audience to get into to go along this ride for him to explain his mad idea about the time travel and everything running backwards. So, this movie's audio has gotten a lot of complaints and is a little bit of a point in controversy. For the past couple Nolan movies, it's really been evident that his audio mixing is somewhat crazy. There's a lot of points in the movie, in this film, rather than earlier films, where you're trying to hear somebody talk. There's just people talking, but it's either the background noise or the music that's just overpowering them. So when you're trying to pay attention and there's music or horns or gunfire blasting in your ears, it's really hard to keep concentration and understand what they're trying to say. I don't watch movies in closed captioning. That's just a preference of mine. I don't like it. Unless it's a foreign film, then I don't have a problem with it. But I speak English, and I barely do that well. So if I want to pay attention to a movie and it's in English, I should be able to understand what they're trying to say. So overall, as much as I liked Tenet, I felt like the plot really held it back. And it's not really good when the plot of your movie isn't that interesting or overly complicated. This is a film that you need to watch 2, 3, maybe even 4 times, because by the end of the film, you're starting to piece things together and understand the film a little better. It was a 2.5 hour movie, and I honestly wouldn't have minded a longer movie. This could really benefit from another hour, hour and a half, making this a 4 hour movie. And I know that's not for everybody, but personally, I would enjoy it. It would allow them to slow down a little bit and really explore the world a little better and be able to explain it to the audience a little better, and then jump into the plot. But the main thing about the plot that makes it so complicated is that the main guy has to go talk to this person and this person, but they got to stop this person from doing this. And it's hard to keep track of names, and you're trying to keep up with the lore. So I understood Inception pretty easily. I get Inception, and a lot of people think that's complicated. If you think Inception is complicated, you're going to have a rough time watching this, in my opinion. It's just more over the top and outside the box thinking than Inception. But like I said, this movie technically is a masterpiece. The visuals and the action sequences are amazing. Christopher Nolan is at his best when filming these parts. But between the character and the plot, it's a bit of a letdown for me. So I'm going to give Tenet a 6 out of 10. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I probably am going to have one last video this year because I'm in quarantine now. So I got a lot of free time on my hands, and I got a pretty big video coming up just describing a little bit of my favorite films. So be on the lookout for that as a end of the year instead of a top 10 favorite movies of the year. I'm going to give you something a little different. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Very professional setup here. It's 2020, so forgive me.